Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the virtual live roadshow today here for Swiss Resource Capital. And we are doing this today with Karora Resources together, and Paul Huet, whom I know long time, the CEO, is here with us. Good morning or good evening to Australia. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing wonderful, Johan. I'm actually in Canada right now. So
you're in Canada, okay? So
yeah,
then it's good morning. Super.
Getting ready to return to Australia in order to get my booster shot. I actually needed to fly to Canada to get a booster, and then I'm returning to Australia next week. So my family and I are heading back very soon here now.
Okay, perfect. So then thanks for taking the time today. Highly appreciated. I'm a shareholder of your company. I have to say that, of course, for disclosure reasons. And before we get started, just let people checking in here. We have over 45 investors registered here. As you know, my name is Jochen Steiger. I'm the founder and CEO of Swiss Resource Capital and also Commodity TV and Rohstoff-TV. We are fully complying to the European, Great Britain and Swiss data security laws, and make sure nobody can see each other, nor any names nor emails. Paul will present approximately 25 minutes here, and afterwards we love to have, as you are used to that, a lively Q&A session. Please use the chat function or the Q&A function in the chat box to write your questions and post them to me, as I will moderate that and make sure we bring them into a nice useful order. Karora Resources, a fantastic company. As said, I know Paul long time from good old Klondike times, and it's a little bit to me like Britney Spears. Oops, I want to do it again, or I did it again, because with Klondike he brought the stock like from 60 cents in the top to, I think it was $6.80. Company was sold then for well over $5, and could happen absolutely the same path here. It looks really like, because Karora has already achieved a lot, but I think it's one of the fastest growing emerging gold producers in Australia, and the company is doing an outstanding job, I must say. And let me set up the presentation, and I would suggest, Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Johan. It's a real pleasure to be here with you here this year. Let me just get my technical stuff here going here. I'm really excited to present Karora to your shareholders, potential shareholders, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone who I haven't wished a Happy New Year to, and let's get on with the deck here. Forward-looking statements, we'll just pass that. I just want to start by explaining to people where we're located. Our primary assets are in Western Australia. We have a centralized mill, the Higginsville operation, and we feed the Higginsville mill from predominantly our Beta Hunt mine, which is about 80% of our ounces right now, and Spargos. So that's predominantly where our ore is coming from. We have other sources of ore that we're injecting, but the main source of our ounces are coming from those operations today. Now, we have a very large footprint in Western Australia, Johan. We've got over 1,900 square kilometers. So that's a massive land package, and a land package that hasn't had the privilege of having a lot of drilling for many years. And I'll talk about some of the drilling and our capital that we're going to spend this year. So we're located center of Western Australia, just south of Kalgoorlie, in a very prolific mining jurisdiction. You see there on the left that slide, the Higginsville gold operations, the 1.6 million ton per year plant. We upgraded that last year in 2021. It was a big project for us, ending it at the end of the year. We did it throughout the year, but increased the mill capacity by 15% last year. So a big project for us to get accomplished last year. Members of the team, myself, as you mentioned, Johan, former president, CEO of Klondike. I've been in mining a little over, 34 years now. Unfortunately, I was a Canadian and a bad hockey player, so I got put in the mine at a very young age, at about 18 years old in 1987. So I've never looked back. I've had a very great career, meeting a lot of great people throughout the world, mining in Canada, the United States, Australia, South Africa. I've been very privileged to meet some really good people during my career. Graham Sloan here on the right of me is our managing director of our Australian operations. Graham has been instrumental in the transformation of Royal Nickel, RNC, to Karora. Graham and I joined probably within a couple months of each other. Graham was one of the first persons I hired as I joined the team myself. He is also a very experienced executive, having been CEO of numerous companies. So he's not only very strong on the operational front, Johan, he actually understands capital markets very, very well. He has a tremendous network in Western Australia, which has been instrumental to our success. Graham's network and the people that he knows have really, really helped us on our journey throughout these times that we're in. Look, COVID is it's a time that none of us anticipated. Nobody in the world could have predicted it. There's so many new things happening. It's the first on so many fronts. It's the first time that happens. It's the first time that happens. Because Graham is there and the borders are so tightly held, we've been very fortunate to build our workforce, get the workforce, and transform the company to where we are today. Next slide. This is part of the executive team. A lot of you would have seen Oliver Turner, our Executive Vice President of Corporate Development and IR. He's been on numerous shows here and there. He does a lot of our marketing. Very experienced executive with over 10 years of mining experience, was the former analyst for GMP, very highly recognized in our industry. Barry Dahl and Mike Doolan are former C-suite executives of my former team, Klondex. I don't think I need to introduce them anymore. As Barry's CFO, Mike Doolan's VP of Technical Services, and he looks after our sustainability. Speaking about sustainability, I want to talk about something that was very near and dear to our board of directors and to us in 2021. Look, the world as we know it is changing in many ways, not just with COVID, but our response and our actions on ESG. One of the things we focused on, Johan, was carbon neutrality. This was a big step for us. First, when I think back when some of the interviews you and I had back in 2017 or 15, when we met face to face or you were interviewing me, I never even talked about what my carbon footprint was. You and I, we didn't have discussions about ESG. So we're learning ESG fast. We've always been good at corporate social responsibility. It's been at the forefront of everything we do, working in the communities, working with the people. But ESG is different, and it's here to stay. And we've taken a very proactive approach on ESG as a whole. We're going to have our first sustainability report this year from a third party. But the carbon neutrality thing that we accomplished in 2021 was frontier here, that we were the first group to become carbon neutral. And look, first we had to measure the amount of greenhouse gases and our emissions. Like if you'd asked me 5 years ago, how much carbon dioxide do you emit as a company? I would have said, I'll come back to you. I'm not sure. Let me get some help. And we did that. Look, we got help from experts, from Net Zero. These guys here are experts in their field. We know we emit anywhere from 79 to 80,000 tons of carbon per year. What we did is we're looking at all kinds of steps and ways to reduce our carbon footprint. We have to be very proactive on renewable energies, biodiesel stuff. We're always looking at that. And because we have some capital spending in our growth plan in our future, we're able to really look at how do we power the new mill or the expansion of the mill? How do we change things and become more efficient on our greenhouse gas? So this thing here that we did last year by buying offsets was quite a big step for us. Being carbon neutral, we know without doubt that it brought some very, very high caliber institutional shareholders. In fact, we've been told by them. We have some very strong institutions that have joined Karora on the heels of our efforts on ESG and our focus on carbon neutrality. So as we continue to grow this company, We'll maintain that carbon neutral status. We will continue to always look at reductions rather than purchasing offsets. But buying offsets, I can tell you, when you speak to people of a different generation, they're saying, well, look, I'm happy. I get tons of messages where people are saying, I'm really happy and proud to invest in a company that's carbon neutral. It is very meaningful. It's more impactful than I ever thought it was. And look, our initial focus was on scope 1 and 2. We need to look at scope 3 in the future. But the point of this slide is really to make people understand that we're taking this very serious at the board level. And it's cascading down throughout the organization. And it's something that we take very seriously as a company. This next slide is just talking about our track record, what we're doing. And look, when you think about 2021, it was a record year for us on many fronts. You know, many people in Western Australia were reducing guidance, Johan, last year. There are many of our peers that had to come out, reduce guidance throughout the year, the end of the year. We were very fortunate. And again, this has a lot to do with Graham's networking and the people he's able to bring in. At the end of Q4, we were able to disclose that we have had 10 quarters in a row since buying the Higginsville mill. So 10 quarters in a row of consistently delivering on our guidance, achieving what we said we would do on both the production and the costs. And the end result is, look, a couple of years ago when I first called you and said, hey, I'm joining Karora, you know, I remember being in Toronto having a balance sheet of less than $3 million. It was tough times. We ended 2021 with over $90 million in cash. So from a nickel company to where we were to where we are today, the consistent delivery has been very, very important. Delivering the 113,000 ounces on both sold and produced was the high end of our guidance, which we're very happy. And look, I just got to be honest with some of this stuff. At the end of the year was a bit challenging for us. And this might spark a couple questions, but those of you who are familiar with Western Australia know that the rules are different there. The borders are closed. It's that simple. If you're going to get into Western Australia, be prepared to have a 2-week quarantine period. So if you're willing to do that and meet other criteria, then you're allowed into Western Australia. As a result, there's not a lot of people coming into Western Australia. So we're competing with our labor. Coupled with that, the government imposed a must vaccination to people. And this is important, Johan, for the production here. Everybody who works on a mine site, whether you're an employee or a contractor, it doesn't matter. As of December 1st, you have to have proof of vaccination. And that's not a requirement from Karora. It's a requirement from the federal government. As a result of that, we ended up having to lose about 26 people on December 1st. And I'll tell you, we knew this was coming. We did our best to replace people with contractors, consultants. That's tough to do in a December timeframe and in a market where there's just not a lot of people to pull from. So as much as we wanted to keep those people, and I honestly, there were some very valuable people, people have their own rights and we respect their own opinions and respect their own values. They refused to get the vaccination. That had an impact on us. We achieved the high end of the guidance. We were honestly, between us, we thought we'd do a little better. We thought we were going to be right about the 115, but that impact of those people did have an impact on our workforce. When you're talking about approximately 26 people on a workforce of around 200, you can appreciate that that's a big amount of people. So what are we going to do going forward? We have to make sure in 2022, we're doing everything to be in front of this. I don't want to alarm or scare people. We've got to be very proactive, and we are. We're not reactive. We're being very proactive. We're being in front of this, looking at everything we do as a whole to make sure that we have the people to deliver. So 22, there's no doubt. I think you can see the numbers. If you look outside of Karora, numbers have gone from 1 or 2 cases in Australia to 100,000 cases. That amount of explosion in positive COVID cases is having an impact. So I'm extremely proud of Graham, the team, and what we did to get a safe production on a record year. Our Q4 results are out. Our guidance is coming out this week, Johan. So be prepared in the next couple of days. Guidance will come out. But our Q3 numbers year to date were about $1,000. And I've been speaking to many analysts, many people, many shareholders. And I'm getting a very consistent message. Paul, are you going to be able to protect that margin? Are you going to be able to really watch the costs? And look, the truth is we're not oblivious or not shielded from the inflation that's happening. Inflation is happening at a rapid pace throughout the world. We're not shielded from it. So we're doing everything we can to offset that by producing more nickel. We have optionality in Karora, which is very different than many of our peers. We have new nickel zones that we have that we're looking at getting into in 2022. Our nickel credits, or the byproduct credits that we've had, have all been mined, Johan, in areas that are older working areas. They're remnant areas. They're much more challenging, much harder to mine. We're going to start trying to offset costs and manage this through the additional production of nickel, which is something we're going to do throughout the year. And obviously, we have a list, as long as your arm, of things we're doing to attract and retain the right people here to preserve that margin that is so important. In fact, again, the discussions I've had with people are, don't worry so much about growth. Get your growth. Everybody loves a growth story, but make sure, by God, protect those margins. Don't get up to $1,250, $1,300 an ounce, because, you know, if you produce 5,000 ounces less, but you're making $150 more an ounce, you have to take the trade-offs and understand that sometimes a little less ounces and higher margins are actually important. So our guidance is going to come out this week. There won't be any surprises. No big, oh my gosh, what's going on in Karora? I think people will go, yeah, okay, decent guidance, similar to what they had said. What will be slightly different is our guidance this year is going to have bigger ranges, and that's just a function of where we're at in present history, Johan. Today, with the uncertainty, we're seeing the country already locked down. We've seen a couple cases at some mine sites where people have had to shut down for 8 days. Imagine yourself now with a COVID case, a positive case, in a camp job, Johan. We have camps, right? So it complicates things. So our steps and everything we do, we have always had a COVID team in place. We've chartered planes, we've hired nurses, we've hired a lot of people. Our cleaning has been 2 times our normal cost. We have additional costs because of COVID, despite still being at an all-in sustaining cost of right around $1,002. The lower end of our guidance was $985 to $1,085 on ounces sold, and Q3 we were at $1,002. We'll put out final numbers here. There won't, again, no surprises here. So purpose of this slide is just to say that one thing I'm extremely proud of is 10 quarters in a row we meet or beat guidance. We've been delivering on what we said we'll do. And just before I flip, the reserve and resource increase that happened a year ago was a massive increase. We are going to have a reserve and resource update this year, coming up this quarter, actually. It's this quarter. So I'm very excited about that. We've just put on a brand new executive, a senior, a VP of geology, who's going to help Steve Devlin because our drilling program has changed so much. So let me go on to the next slide here, Johan. Here's something that we put out, I think it was mid-year here in 2021. Look, this is a big step for us at increasing production from a range of 180 to 200,000 ounces. And in our case, it's not complicated. It's not a very tough way to do it. So when you think about what we've done, if you just say, well, what have they done already? First, we were a nickel company. We bought the mill. We became a gold company. We labeled ourselves as a gold company. We took Beta Hunt, and this is important for people to grasp in their mind to understand, well, how do they go from where they are at about that 110, 120,000 ounces a year to that 180 to 200,000? As I said in the beginning, 80%, 75 to 80% of our ounces come from Beta Hunt. That's where our ounces come from. Today, when we got here as a nickel company, when I first joined, Beta Hunt was doing about 380,000 tons per year, Johan. So keep that. For easy math, let's say 400,000 tons. The ramp at Beta Hunt was doing 400,000 tons per year. It was 35,000 tons per month. Over time, we knew we could do better. Today, if you go to Beta Hunt today, that mine is doing 80,000 tons every month, consistently. The last 7 months in a row, you go every month, you look at our books, we've gone from 35,000 tons per month to 80,000 tons per month. Tons don't pay the bill. Ounces pay the bill. So let's talk about what does that do for ounces. So when you think about our growth plan and how simple it is, well, if we're doing 80,000 tons a month or 1 million tons per year, we've gone from 400,000 to 1 million tons per year. We're getting around somewhere 75 to 85,000 ounces a year. Call it very close to that, plus or minus. So from Beta Hunt with 1 million tons per year, our bottleneck at Beta Hunt is the ramp. It's the capacity to bring trucks. We couldn't add more trucks because then it would just get bogged down. And then our truck cycle time would just become inefficient and it would increase our costs, which would be a mistake. We don't want to increase our costs. We want to reduce our costs. So one person, bigger truck moves more tons. If you add another truck to the cycle, it actually increases your costs. It doesn't help us. So in our case, what we're going to do is put in a second ramp. Our bottleneck is not the stopes. We have plenty of stopes. In fact, on a typical time frame, any point in time, we've got about 18 months of waste development approximately in front of ourselves. We've got at least 2 to 3 months of stopes pre-drilled in front of ourselves. And depending on which day of the week, anywhere from six weeks or more of broken ore on the ground. So our situation is not, Johan, that we don't have enough places to remove the muck from. It's that we have a bottleneck with the ramp. So what do? You put in a new ramp. So we're going to put in a new ramp this year. And we're starting it now. We're not going to get it finished this year. We're going to bring in a contractor and we're going to announce who's going to get that. We have a benefit of starting this from underground, which is a tremendous benefit, which we've actually already done. But if you just do simple math, again, back to where I started, what's the growth? All right. If you're doing 1 million tons a year and you're producing, let's use 80,000 ounces. And again, these are estimates. I'm doing some arm waving here. 80,000 ounces a year with 1 million tons. If you get that second ramp in, which we will do, by the way, this is something we're very good at. This is not something that's new to us. This is something we do every day, drill and blast. You do what you've already done. Just repeat it. Don't complicate the story. Keep it simple. Repeat what we did already and put the second ramp in and get it to 80,000 tons or 1 million tons a year. Then Beta Hunt is 2 million tons a year. 2 million tons a year, you double the ounces. So you're at 160,000 ounces a year, roughly, again, very close to that. That path to 180 to 200,000, you can see it now in your mind. You go, Jesus, that's not a very complicated story. They don't have to add all these things into it to get there. So for us, our path to that growth, adding another 20 to 40,000 ounces a year from Spargo's Higginsville complex, that's not a very challenging task at all. So you can quickly sense that Beta Hunt has always been the backbone of our story, but the path to the growth is not complicated. Now, the next step, obviously, in the growth path is simple. If you're going to do 2 million tons a year and you only got a 1.6 million ton per year mill, you got to increase the mill. It's not very hard. Now, we're not having to do a brand new construction. We're not permitting a new mill. We're taking an existing mill with existing metallurgy, with the existing process, and we're going to expand that mill. So both capital projects, I got a slide upwards, but I'll just talk about it now, and I'll skip the slide afterwards, Johan. The ramp is about $50 million. The mill upgrade is $50 to $60 million. Those are the two largest capital items that we have, with exception of exploration drilling. We had a big year in 2021 with some great success. You've seen some of the drilling results. So there's a lot in front of us. So the drilling will be in line again, that $20 million, $25 million, similar, somewhere around that. But those are the two big, large capital items. And then when you think about it, it's fully self-funded here. You know, we're sitting on about $90 million in cash. We're restructuring our debt. And just as a reminder, when we sold Dumont back in 21, when we sold Dumont, we got a certain amount of cash up front. And then the rest of the cash is expected to come on the sale of Dumont. So that's still something that's sitting out there that could occur in 2022 that we're very mindful of. That could be another injection of $25 to $30 million to our balance sheet that could wipe out our debt altogether. We are looking at, we've been very transparent about this. We're looking at restructuring our debt. That process is going very well. I suspect that that's done this quarter, may slip into Q2. We've always said around Q1, but I think that's a very realistic expectation. Unless there's some unforeseen things that occur with COVID that we can't handle with the banking group that's going to do the restructuring. So we have a fully funded growth plan. You hear the growth plan. You hear, look, this is not complicated. It's not a story where they got to build a complete new facility here. This is an existing mine. We're going to start from underground. We're going to eventually start from the top. We're going to connect and then push the underground. Once the two ramps are in place, then we'll start pushing. But it's not a complicated story. And I keep emphasizing that our message and our growth plan is simple. It's there's no rocket science in this stuff, and it's fully funded. So let me go to the next slide here. This is just a map just with some of the milestones here we've got. I'm going to skip over this. I talked about a lot of this already here, Johan. Over to Beta Hunt. Look, for those who may not know, and I know for some people on this call, they don't know nothing about the story, as you told me in the beginning. Some people know nothing. Some people are way up the curve and they know a lot about this story. So for those who are up the curve, I apologize. I do want to explain some things that are very critical and that are important that have been done over the last 3 years. When I became CEO, there was a 7.5% royalty held by a group. We managed to reduce that by 37%. It's approximately 42, somewhere around that, dollars per ounce. So you think about every ounce we produce and that reduction in cost. When people are always telling us, whether it's a shareholder or an analyst, whomever I'm speaking to, you better protect that margin, Paul. You don't want to see your costs going to $1,300 an ounce. And I respect that. I agree with them. Those efforts and the work that we did 2 years ago to get to where we are with that reduction was critical. And I do want to mention the second royalty and the third royalty that we managed to renegotiate. So there was a Morgan Stanley royalty, and it was approximately 7.5%. Approximately, because it had different ranges on gold prices. So I have to explain it. We managed to eliminate that. Now there's a carryover with a smaller legacy one. That's not very big for us. But imagine having our land package, the tenements we have. Nobody had drilled here in 2 decades. So we unlocked this by reducing the royalty by almost 40% of Beta Hunt, by eliminating the 7.5% royalty in this district where we hold 1,900 square kilometers, we are one of the largest landholders in WA. We've set the foundation for our shareholders and unlocked this district that hadn't been drilled. The company that owned Higginsville before us, we're drilling on average about $300,000 per year. We're drilling we'll spend over $20 million, Johan, between our two assets. Those are big numbers, and we've had good success. We've had Gold discoveries, new gold discoveries. We discovered the Larkin. It's now over a kilometer. We've drifted south of the Gamma Island Fault for the first time in history ever at Beta Hunt. And we've had some tremendous gold success. Some of the grades, the average grades, what did we hit? 3.4 meters. No, sorry, my apologies. 3.4 gram across 33 meters. You're talking 100 feet wide here at 3.4 gram. Our average grade is about 2.6 grams. So that's a significant increase with much bigger areas. Now, this is very early stages. We've just drifted south of the fault. We were actually trying to discover nickel. We ended up finding gold. So that gamma package that I'll show you afterwards here, it's a big zone with tremendous exploration upside, and it doesn't include any of our resource and reserves, none of it. So that's a very important thing to say. So we've had gold discoveries, we've had nickel discoveries, and as you know, Johan, we don't have a nickel processing facility. All our nickel goes to BHP, and in April of this year, it was supposed to be March, but it got pushed back. The concentrator that is about 4 kilometers from our Beta Hunt mine is starting up. That's been announced. BHP has announced that they're starting up that concentrator. They have an agreement with a local nickel producer that's starting up. They're going to start feeding their nickel right around our site, 4 kilometers away. Our nickel will eventually go there. And this year will be the first year since I've been here that we're actually going to start mining in nickel areas that are not remnant areas, that are new areas. So it's later in the year, Q3, Q4, but it's still exciting that our nickel guys, we're going to increase our nickel performance output, and the grades have been anywhere from 2.75. We've seen some stuff 18%. If you can get an average grade of 3% nickel, everybody in the world wants that. And we're a gold producer. So the point of this discussion is saying, look, nickel is used as a byproduct credit for us. The tunnels that we excavate and the capital that we spend, our shareholders spend to put in these tunnels, access the gold and the nickel. One drill hole that we drill, and you'll see this, will drill through nickel and through gold. So it's a very different type of operation that has quite a bit of optionality. Let me go to the next slide here. So this is our 2020 resource reserve statement. I'm not going to read it all, Johan. People could read it. As I mentioned, expect the new resource and reserve update this quarter. Reserve update. We're putting out a reserve update this quarter. A reserve update in Q1 of 2022. I got to remember the years here. I keep slipping up. Look, this slide here is important for people just to understand the size and scale of Beta Hunt. As I mentioned earlier, I've been mining 34 years, Johan. Every mine I've ever worked at in my career, didn't matter where it was in the world, one of our biggest costs as operators is sustaining capital. And that sustaining capital, a lot of it goes to our waste development. It's the access to the ore zones. This mine has 400 kilometers of tunnels in it. We have that in front of, that would have cost $100 million or more to excavate. We use that to our advantage everywhere in the operation when we're going on strike, when we're drilling to find a new shear like we have with Fletcher. The Fletcher is a new shear that we discovered and we continue to grow it. You see it in the result. But imagine having an operation that's been around for so many years that has so much life left in it, but has all that infrastructure. So the sustaining capital here is much lower than any operation I've ever had in my life. In fact, I've been on record saying this numerous times. Of every operation I've ever had in my career, I find Beta Hunt to be the easiest mine I've ever worked at. It's a very steeply dipping ore body, very competent footwall and hanging wall. You mine on average 4 to 6 stopes a quarter. You're not mining 20 stopes a month. You're not trying to cycle all that. There's no backfill required. It is an amazing deposit that will be here for a significant amount of time to come. And I want to just see what the next slide is here. Yeah, let me go back to the previous one. So this is This is a plan view here, Johan, of Beta Hunt. So if you just pay attention to the blocks, if you look at the plan view, you see on the right, you see Hunt. That was that section. You see Beta, and that's Beta Hunt. This is an important part of our message here today. Beta Hunt has been mined for about 40 years. It's where that resource and reserve that I just showed you on the previous slide exists. What's really important to take away from is, if you look on this slide, and I can't circle it, it's a shame. I don't know how, but Gamma Island Fault, Johan, you can see it at the bottom. Can you see that at the bottom, Johan? Gamma Island Fault, that blue line. So I just want to draw the attention to everybody who's on the call. Thank you. So that fault, thank you, Johan. That fault that goes up north and south, perfect. All the mining had been done from Beta Hunt and stopped there. Everything stopped at that fault. And I just want to mention one more thing. The Alpha Island Fault, the one up to the northwest, if you extended that down a little further, you would hit the Invincible Pit from Goldfields that produced over 3 million ounces. That's still mining. But back to the Gamma Island. This is such an important thing. The drilling that we put out here, a lot of it, not all of it, a lot of it has come south of the Gamma Island Fault. Why is this important? The 40 years that Beta Hunt ran, it was a nickel operation. And people ask me all the time, well, why was it nickel if there was so much gold, Paul? Why is that? The truth is, over the years, the people running it didn't have both gold and nickel rights at the same time. We have the gold and nickel rights. So when we're in our operation, we have the ability to mine them both and separately and send one and treat it and mine the gold. In the past, that hasn't been the case. So any of the drilling you see at the old Beta Hunt operation, it goes through the ultramafic, hits the basalt, and then they stop. And you're like, wow, man, all this gold exists below it, including some of that coarse gold that we've encountered every once in a while. But back to this Gamma Island Fault. All those years, the mining stopped right at that. You could see the yellow headings, actually. You see them stop. The new headings, the blue headings, are ours. We put the first tunnels underground. So when you talk about, people ask me, well, how close are you to some of these drill holes? We drilled through it. We mined through the fault. Now, we put in a drift about 150, so what's that, 50 meters? 50 meters, and then we started drilling. This is where we've had the nickel results coupled with the gold results. You know, we had, what was one of them, 4 meters of 40 gram below some massive nickel. And I'll show this in a cross section here afterwards. But here's my point. When you walk away today, you need to remember this. All right, Beta Hunt's been around 40 years. It's been a nickel mine. We've been mining remnant areas. No, we're mining the gold below the nickel in the Beta Hunt blocks. The Gamma block that we're showing you right now has never been mined. Not for nickel, not for gold. If you look at the strike of Gamma, it's as big as Beta Hunt. If you look at the strike, yeah, it's as big. So what we do know is we've crossed it, we've drilled it, we've had phenomenal results, and I've been talking about them through the presentation. There's another hole that was drilled in the 90s on the very southern end of the slide, if you very right bottom corner. There's a hole that's out of the picture. It was a hole drilled in the 90s that has 9.8 meters of approximately 10% nickel. We have no drilling in between that, nothing. We don't have drilling between our first maiden 26 holes and that. So there's already it's exactly 962 meters, almost 1 kilometer south, where we have an intercept below our cluster. So from that map, this Gamma district block could be a game changer for us. You know, when you talk about how undervalued we are, when we're talking about, we are undervalued today. All our resource and reserves are north of Gamma block. We won't even be able to get the gold or nickel assays that we've done because they're so early. It was done. Remember, this was done in Q4. We won't get them in our reserve update that we put out because it's too fresh. But we have such a massive exploration target here on strike. The only thing that happened, people say, well, how come they didn't discover it before, Paul? How is it possible that you guys discovered it? when Beta Block was mined, and they mined to the southern end of the Gamma Island Fault, nickel prices were very depressed. They were, and I don't remember what they were very depressed. The drilling tried to go through the fault, and the nickel wasn't there. What occurred when we put the first tunnel through and we flipped the drills up and down, our geology team discovered that about 250 feet above, not below, it went up. So there's a structure, a fault that lifted up the nickel in the Gamma block that raised the system. So the trough is above, and it was never discovered. With the big royalties that existed there, people weren't drilling. This is a victim of the same issues that Higginsville had. Why didn't people drill? Well, if you had these massive royalties, would you have spent those dollars? Or if you're in part of a bigger company, would you choose to spend them at another project where you'd have a better return on your investment? So because we managed to reduce and eliminate royalties, we are drilling a lot. We are discovering a lot. And there's more to come. There's absolutely no doubt. We've had some tremendous results here.
Paul, please think a bit on the time, because we are already at 41 minutes.
You know, you told me this would happen, right? You said to me,
I know you. I know you too long, my friend.
Let's skip it. And you said, no, you're going to run out of time. So look, what I do want to talk about is a couple slides here that explain the structure here. So if you look at the bigger picture on the right, the gray tunnel there, that's one of those tunnels that have been there for over 20 years. That existed. That was there in place. And remember, when people are listening to me today, they're going, well, we know that stuff. I'm talking for a lot of people who don't know nothing about the stories. So again, please be patient with me, because a lot of this stuff is so relevant and important to why would you buy Karora? Well, there's tremendous upside in Karora, and we're far from done, and we deliver. We're fully funded. We've got a very strong balance sheet, a very strong team, and a lot of potential upside. But that tunnel there, if you look at that discovery, we hit 14.4 meters of 5 gram, 2.6 meters of 22 gram. That was in the wall. That had been lying there for more than 20 years. All we did is wash down the wall. Once we discovered that, we flipped up and drilled. And then you see the discovery of the nickel troughs there. And my eyes escape me here. I can't see. I know the grades vary anywhere from 3 all the way up to 18%, depending on where you are. And I'm going to press forward a little quicker here. But in this hole, you can see we hit 9 meters of 19 gram here. So look, this is part of that Larkin discovery. And just as a reminder for those who don't know, we discovered Larkin ourselves as part of our exploration program. It was a new discovery for us. It's over 1 kilometer in strike already. We put out the new discovery, then we put out 200 meters, 400 meters. We're over 1 kilometer in length at Larkin zone. Some more information. This really depicts the story. The slide on the left is a cross section, and the upper section is the ultramafic, the lower section is basalt. You can see the nickel lies right on the contact between the ultramafic and the basalt, and the coarse gold usually lies right on that same structure where there's a shear zone. But I'm struggling with reading some of the grades in the slide, but you can see some of the 11.6% nickel over 4.6 meters, including 18% across 2.2 meters. Look, these are world class here. These are big nickel results. We're a gold mine. We're a gold operator who are blessed, by the way, to have nickel as a byproduct credit. So the potential to continue below, remember, you think, okay, they got about 5 years or more, or more at Beta Hunt, at least 5 years, north of Gamma Island. That's where everything was focused on. It wasn't till Q4, the end of 2021, that we got south of the fault of Gamma and discovered, holy cow, we might have a complete repeat of what's above our heads here. And there's no reason, there's no indication at this point to not believe that that's very possible. That's a complete game changer for us. That could mean another ramp in the future up towards Gamma. The plan to grow Beta Hunt to 2 million doesn't include Gamma Island or what's south of that. None of that. None of the higher grades, none of that. So look, when you think about opportunities and optionality, we certainly have quite a bit. All right, Higginsville, we're mining right now at Spargos. I don't know if I have a picture of it. This is Higginsville Central is our mill, as I said. Happy to report the increase in the mill upgrade is complete. I'm going to press through a bit here. Just the location of Higginsville Central, the mill, other deposits. Look, remember, we took this from 7.5% royalty across the board, averaged, to eliminating it with Morgan Stanley. That district now is open for business. Open for business, and we certainly are putting it to the test with our drills, and we've had some tremendous results with the sleuth trend. This is a great indication of an area, the strike length 5 kilometers, surrounded by some massive intercepts here. So this is going to be an area, the sleuth trend, we're going to be following up on in 2021. Or sorry, my apologies, 2022. Spargos, you'll remember, Johan, I know I had a discussion with you when we bought this. We paid $4 million for this thing. We eliminated the 3% royalty Ramilius had, and there's at this stage, we already know, or actually, let me rephrase that. My lawyer is going to slap me. We are very confident at this point that there will be an underground. We're very confident that this pit is going to be, the grades are going to resemble the grades that we're doing from underground. So that's the type of pit we're mining. They're going to be as good as what we're mining underground or better. And then there's a very strong likelihood that there's going to become an underground from the Spargos operation. And when you think of Spargos, Ramilius had that property just south. The name's escaping me for some reason. It's what made Ramilius. Anyhow, I'll skip it. Some people will probably remember it better than me. This is just a cross section of Spargos, and a reminder: those who've seen this slide before, just again be patient, because a lot of these people that are on this call are new to our story. If you just look at some of the grades we intercepted, we obviously intercepted this after we bought the project. We paid $4 million. We started drilling, and you just read the results: 29 gram over 19 meters, 27 gram over 15 meters, another 29 gram over 3 meters. There's some very impressive results here on Spargos. So this is why we're so confident at this stage that there's a very high likelihood that Spargos will become an underground. So look, at this stage, when you look at valuations, why do you buy Karora? Well, we're trading about 0.5 times NAV. When you look at people who are at about 200,000 ounces a year, they're billion-dollar companies. We're $1 billion, or they are billion or more. There's numerous companies that are producing right around where we are that are trading 1.2 times NAV. A couple of them that I know right at the top of my head. So there's tremendous room for growth here from where we are in a good jurisdiction. Let's just face it. Australia is one of the greatest jurisdictions in the world to mine. Where we have a very strong team who've been here, who've done it before. Our team have proven that we can take an operation that was struggling, that had very little cash, and improve the productivity rates. That I will always use this the rest of my career as a great case study. Taking a single ramp from 35,000 tons a month to 80,000 tons a month. It took us a couple of years, but we're there now, and we're doing it consistently. Those are results that you don't often hear in the background with all the noise, but those are very, very impressive results. I remember talking to people in the early days, and they said, you'll never do it. You're Canadian, you don't understand what it's like in Australia. And I said, look, I understand. I said, doesn't matter where you are in the world, doesn't matter my background. I said, you need to trust me. The guys that are there are our biggest obstacle because they don't believe we can do it. They're finding ways around it. So we changed the team 2 years ago. So these numbers, all of this valuation and value drivers, so that we can get return for our shareholders, really matter on the team. So my point is, our team have been there. They've done it. They've done it here at Karora. Look, I'm going to end right here. I'm just going to talk about Analyst coverage. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 analysts currently covering us right now, about 152 million outstanding shares. Guidance going to come out, as I said, this week. You can see our stock performance, our largest shareholders. We're grateful to them all. Every shareholder, it doesn't matter what size you are. We're grateful. We appreciate you as a shareholder. We're in a different time in mining. Inflation is here. We're seeing it in several of our commodities. One of the benefits I've said here at Karora was because we had cash, we were able to buy and stockpile things, at least some very important commodities, which we did do. We've been always ahead of it. This is why we didn't reduce guidance in 21, because in June and even May, we were buying stuff ahead and filling our shelves, worried about what's going to happen. We were anticipating, look, if there's a shortage of rock bolts, if there's a shortage of lime, what do you do? So because we have a strong balance sheet, we were able to put stuff ahead. It'll run out over time. We got to get those ships running and the ports going. There's no doubt about that. So in summary here, I'll just say, look, when you think about Karora and the value proposition, you think about where we're located first and foremost in Western Australia, our current production, our current balance sheet, and where we're headed. We've got a team that have been here, done it before in a great jurisdiction. We've got a strong balance sheet. We've got a great growth plan that I've went in detail to explain is not complicated. It's not a complicated story. We're not talking about a brand new mill, a brand new expansion. We're talking about doing what we do every day, put in a new ramp, full stop. All right, if we can't do that, then by God, you need to get rid of me, because putting in a ramp is not very challenging. I put them in everywhere in my life. I've actually been doing the drive. And then a mill expansion. So those are the two bigger things. There's a lot of moving parts below it that you have to get done, of course. But I'm sure people don't want to dive into all those details. Those are where the bigger dollars are spent. We do those. Our growth plan is in place. So in the meantime, we'll continue to produce that 100,000+ ounces a year and continue to add to our balance sheet and continue to explore in an amazing district. With that, my friend, I'm going to let it go to you here and open it up for questions. And I'm sorry I went on a little longer. It's the French in me.
That's okay, Paul. Thank you very much for this outstanding presentation. I would say this was the most heartful, passionate, rocked presentation I ever had live. Absolutely. You live really Karora resources. I can feel it. I'm a happy shareholder. I always believed in you. And I know we're going to make a ton of money. That is also for sure. Fully understood that all the analysts have targets between $6 and $7.50.
Yeah.
Our targets are already between $8 and $10 for you, just because of the sake of valuation and what fantastic job you are doing. So let me see here. Okay, this is something I really love. Everything said, no questions. That is fine. Good. So
amen.
Amen. Let me look here into the second one. Probably I can start shortly with a little bit from my side.
Johan,
a question.
Johan,
yes.
I'm just going to plug in my computer. I just see it said low battery, and I do not want to be gone here.
Yeah, please do so. No problem at all. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this could also happen, that we need power, of course, to move on. That is for sure.
Yeah, I don't know why. Okay.
You have the cable?
Yeah, I've plugged it in here.
Okay, so
I don't want to. Look, I do not want to drop off with technical.
No, please not. That's for sure. Yeah, no, and okay.
You're away, sir.
Okay, super. Because a question I got from many viewers from Commodity TV, they were saying, and also it was on YouTube, also some comments. They wanted to know, what debt do you have exactly versus your 91 million cash?
Yeah, so we've got right around $30 million in debt. Mm-hmm. And that debt, as a reminder, was debt that we took on when we bought the mill. And, mm-hmm. and this was a decision we made, and I recommended to the board, not to add the additional dilution. We mm-hmm. had the option, look, and I want to be really honest here, we had the option to raise equity to pay that. And I said, no, we will repay the debt. And I mentioned this. I said, look, don't forget in the background, there's things moving in the background here, like Dumont. We sold that. There's a potential injection of cash here. So as a shareholder myself, I know that this debt is not a lot. We can afford it. We're renegotiating it. The deal, the terms of that debt was 10%. Remember when we got it, we had less than $5 million in cash. We were not in production. We were a nickel company. So the group that gave us this debt was a group that trusted us a lot. And they gave us a really good term sheet for that time. Our weighted average cost of capital today is much different than what it was 3 years ago with our balance sheet and our consistent production. So we will get a much cheaper coupon. The debt was for the mill to prevent further dilution. We did not. And I remember the meeting. I remember very well saying, look, and people were questioning, well, look, are we going to be able to repay it? I said, we do not need to dilute our shareholders. Trust me, we'll deliver. We'll get this done. And to date, it's been the right thing to do. And again, don't forget that stuff in the background that could happen this year. There's a lot of people looking at nickel, right? That asset that we sold that we could get another 30 million was a nickel asset. So there's certainly a lot of interest in it.
Definitely. I mean, nickel is hot at $10.45 today, and it was already close to 11. I think it will go to 20 for sure. If I look at all those battery productions and replacing a lot of other metals through nickel.
Johan, I just want to comment on that because I think we never get the right amount of credit for that. I know that we get compared against our peers, and that's a fair thing. I always believe that. I think people very much underestimate the nickel we have and the jurisdiction we're in and what is south of Gamma Island. Look, I really went into details for, like you said, there's going to be a lot of new people here. This is why I took so much time. But the Beta Hunt mine, 40 years was a great nickel deposit. We've got a block the same size below us here. You see some of the grades. Never been touched here. This is brand new here. This is brand new frontier for both gold and nickel because we got both rights. We do not get the credit yet for that nickel. And I think you're going to see that change. I think, look, you just said it, nickels. I know that in our budget, I think we budgeted 40% lower pricing on nickel. So go to that $20 as you said. And my shareholders are going to be very happy as well because they got nickel in their portfolio here as well.
That's exactly the point I wanted to ask you, how important would be nickel in the future? How important do you see the contribution? Because it rang a bell with me. I think we did an interview, it must be 15 months ago approximately, I think. And you were talking in the interview and just on a by sentence, you said, last quarter we earned over $1 million with nickel. And that rang a bell, because my feeling is now with the results you have shown, I mean, those are outstanding nickel results in conjunction with gold. So you must not open up a new production. It comes all together. And you have only 4 kilometers away BHP. So there's no trucking costs, no real costs for you and no risk. I mean, with BHP, you get your money 24 hours afterwards. That is also for sure. So the thing to me is, would it be possible that maybe the nickel part could go up to, let's say, 10-15%, for example, in your byproduct credit?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I would never, ever, ever underestimate the nickel here. And I know people have said to me, well, you were Royal Nickel, Paul, you were RNC, and you tried to get focused. And we are focused. Look, full stop here. We're very focused. We're very focused on our growth plan and everything we've done to date, the transformation. We are very focused. The reality is the nickel is an option here, and it's not often in your career you're going to see it. It could. I would never put a cap on it. Never, not at this point, not with what I know already, not with the discoveries we've had, not with that brand new fresh area and having a whole 962 meters directly south on the same strike here. There's just so much upside here. Look, we've seen about $35 to $45 an ounce saving. Could that go a lot higher? It absolutely can. We've been mining in the harder areas, in the remnant areas. The newer stuff has better grades, even if the grade's 10% higher, it's going to be easier mining. These are new blocks, not trying to mine pillars that are crumbling or underneath old stopes or next to backfill, or actually there wasn't a whole lot of backfill there, but in more challenging areas. So look, Johan, you're absolutely onto something. Could I give you a 10 to 15%? I couldn't. I think I'd give you the wrong number. I think I would underestimate it.
Yeah.
There's just, if you come to this mindset, you speak to my geologists, you come to the site visit, you're like, holy cow, you might be a nickel miner again. Look, there's a lot. We're in virgin territory here. The mine's been here 40 years. We know of many mines that have been around for 100+ years that only have 2-year reserves in gold. This thing's going to be around long after I'm retired.
Yeah, super. Okay, perfect. I saw also in your press release from like some days ago that you still achieved, first of all, you invested all the money in the growth of your company, and you still have raised your cash to 91 million. So that tells me something, that you guys, first of all, make real good money, but on the other hand, you still invest and can pay out of the cash flow. So if I look what you said here with the new ramp, like 50 million, and also the middle enlargement, maybe 50, 60 million. I mean, this all does not come within 1 month, the cost, right? I mean, it's a process, and also the new ramp. So are you able to easily is maybe wrong, but just to finance out of cash flow, meaning you must not go back to the markets and raise capital?
Listen, this is the one time in my career where I get to say this with a lot of confidence. What we have in front of us is certainly self-funded. The amount of capital that's required, you just laid it out perfectly here. We spent $60 million and we still have 90 million. We are putting in, look, we're looking for, as we refinance the debt, we're looking for a group that will put in a larger facility as a backstop. So putting in, look, I think you'll agree to this, Johan. The best time to get money is when you don't need it. When you're absolutely broke and desperate for money, people can charge you what they want. And you're sitting there with your back against the wall going, fudge, I don't want to take these terms, but man, I got to keep the company alive. We're in a different situation than where we were 3 years ago. We're sitting here going, look, we're in a very healthy situation. We don't need money. Now's the time to put in a line of credit. Get the debt reduced to, cut it in half, and then get a facility as a standby facility should things come up that are not anticipated. And look, we've anticipated for a lot, but metal prices, I can't control metal price, Johan. I can't control.
Nobody can do that.
But what I can do is be proactive and not reactive, and put in a facility now when I've got a strong balance sheet, and say in 2 years, and I need to dip into $10 million. Well, I've got a standby facility. I don't need to go out and raise money. That's first and foremost. I have the ability. Now, I'm talking desperation things here. If gold remains where it's at, then you don't even need to dip into anything. You just go on, you put the ramp in, you do the mill expansion to 2.5 million tons per year, and you do what we've been doing for the last 3 years.
Super. And I mean, if I look at your reserves and resources, and you said there will come out a reserve statement this quarter, and there's also a question from a shareholder. Does this include Spargos also in the reserve, in the new statement?
Yeah, the new reserve will include a couple things. It'll include Spargos. It will include Larkin. Larkin was excluded as well. So yes, the new reserve will include it.
Super. So we can say, if I look at your reserve resource statement today, I would say even with a 200,000 ounce production, you easily have from, let's say, 2024 onwards, a plus 10-year mine life today already.
Yeah, Johan, this is another thing I've said here numerous times. Not only do I enjoy working here and the people in Beta Hunt, and I find it's one of the easiest operations that I've been part of in my career. I think we're very blessed. Never, and you can look back on my career, wherever I was, I don't ever recall managing from my time as a GM or more in my career, except for the times I worked for Newmont, working with a company that has had this much life in front of it. Ever. I'm used to seeing, okay, I've got 1 year, 2 years of reserve. That's not the case here. This is more homogeneous in nature with the upside of some coarse gold every once in a while, and the nickel. That's very, very, very important. And I think it's going to change in 22. I think when we have another call throughout the year, I'm going to be able to say, hey, we got results from drilling and we expanded the drift, and this is different than we thought. Yeah.
As you said, you are drilling for $20 million, or you have drilled last year for $20 million. You want to do the same, I think, this year again. What would be, let's say, that's a question here from the audience, what would be, let's say, your minimum expectations? I know it's hard to say because when you drill, you never know what you are getting back. But can we say, like, when we invest, let's say, $20 million in exploration, I want to see at least a 10% reserve increase, just hypothetically. Would that be something you are thinking on?
You're right. It's a challenging question, but look, my personal opinion is we're going to see a different statement after that $20 million, specifically with Gamma Island. Now, I haven't even talked a lot about Higginsville, that we're going to be drilling $10 million. There's a lot of areas in the Sleuth Trend. There's Spargos below it. You saw the grades. We're certainly following up on that. We would be ridiculous not to follow up on that, and we are. We are absolutely following up on it. Giving a 10% growth is tough. What I would say is this. In my simple mind, I just look at, I always come back to Gamma because I think Beta Hunt's very unique. And I love the fact that we're the first guys to mine south of Gamma Island. I like that. And all the nickel's intact and all the gold's intact. What I see on easy visual, I see that the block of Gamma Island is almost equivalent to the two Beta Hunt blocks, and it's open. It's open at depth. It's open on strike. So it encourages the heck out of me. When I see that, I go, whoa, we got a tiger by the tail. This thing could be, significantly larger. Because remember what I said, all the resource, all the reserve are north of Gamma Island. And the one of the greatest exploration upsides, and Fletcher's right, another new shear. The grades of Fletcher are about 10-15% higher than our average grade. It's a brand new shear, 350 meters away from our western flank. So as exciting as that is, it's hard to contain me or anybody about, what is south of the Gamma Island? Well, we finally got through it. We've got some holes, We're like the rest of the world, suffering with assay turnaround. It's hard. It's hard with a commercial lab. Thank God that we got our own lab last year to get our own production going and maintain, not have a disruption to our production. Because if we didn't do that, holy cow, I don't think we would have made. Actually, we would not have made our high end of guidance if we had not put that lab in place. If we weren't proactive and then ahead, we would have suffered. So look, it's a long ways to get, when you say touch your nose, you go like this. That's what I'm kind of doing. To say exploration it's going to be, I think we're going to have a very exciting year. Just if you think of the 20 million we spent last year, we had 3 new gold discoveries, 2 nickel discoveries. Man, that's the first new nickel discovery at Beta Hunt in 40 years. It's like, holy cow. Nobody's ever drilled south of Gamma Island. Nobody's put a tunnel there. Sleuth Trend, nobody's followed up on it. Spargos, nobody's drilled south. So, look, you can't help but be excited about the exploration and the upside this company has in front of ourselves.
Absolutely. I know why I'm a shareholder. That's for sure. Then there is a question from our friends in Zug in Switzerland. We discussed it already a bit, but he's asking about, let's say, do you have maybe any plans with a separate nickel resource in the light of the fast-growing industry for EVs? Meaning, could you imagine that you focus maybe a bit more on nickel and you say, oh, the gold I have anyhow?
Look, here's what I'm gonna repeat something that we talked about here. I'm of the belief that Beta Hunt and South Agama Island, that everything we know so far suggests that there could be another nickel system, and we're in nickel country. Beta Hunt was a nickel mine long before it was a gold mine. What I could see is that Karora would remain a gold operator. We would never, ever, ever, ever sell our nickel rights. And this is where people, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, fumbled the ball in the past. People who were mining the nickel there, Johan, sold their gold rights. So they didn't have optionality. So if one metal moves or the other one does, at least we have, for our shareholders, optionality. You know, we got nickel, like you said, the highest price ever in history here. So I've got 2 board members that are former executives of Inco. I've got the former chairman and CEO of Inco, who was, and one of the top executives, Peter Gowdy, who's an Australian. You think those guys aren't pushing me, get nickel, get nickel? These guys love it. There's like a kid in a candy store. These guys are like, we're going to make shareholder return. We're going to have nickel. And I said, yeah, we will. All in time. We just, and unfortunately, this is what is, it upsets me, but there's little I can do about it. Even though I went right to the lab, the nickel results tend to have a slower turnaround than the gold even. And I don't know why that is, but it's a fact. I actually took a day and I went right to the facility. I drove there as chairman and I said, walk me through this thing and show me where the delays are and show me what your challenges are. How can we help you? Because we need these turnarounds much, much faster. So look, the question is a very valid question. The best way to say it is we're very excited about it, the nickel, and what it presents for us and our shareholders. And I love the optionality. Stay tuned.
Okay, super. So let me check here again. That is all answered. Fantastic. Let me check my list. Yeah. Fantastic. Everything answered. All done. Thank you very much, Paul. It was an exciting presentation, fully dedicated with the heart. I must say you rocked it. That's great. Maybe last questions. What is your share in Karora personally? Because I know you put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. Geez. I have to come back. I don't know. It's quite a bit, though. It's a big number. I don't know what's disclosed. I own quite a bit. We'll just check CDAR.
Okay, but it's a nice amount.
It's certainly it's good for me and my family. That's for sure. And remember in the beginning here, I believe it was. Look, when I first joined, we didn't have any cash, so I agreed to take something like. For the first 7 months, we didn't have enough money to pay me. So I said, okay, just pay 40% of my biweekly salary in shares. I'll just take shares. I'll just get paid in stock because I believe in what we're doing and we don't have any money to pay me anyhow. I said, so a lot of people looked at me and said, well, man, you had a lot of different options. Why would you do that? Why would you go with something so risky? And, you could have done other things, and I could have, but I really believed in Beta Hunt. When I first came here, I did a massive due diligence. I took 6 weeks. It took me a long time, but it was the right decision in the end.
Absolutely. Super. Thank you very much. Please say hello to your lovely wife. All the best. Stay healthy. That's important. I really hope to see you soon somewhere here in Switzerland, in Germany, whatever, that we can travel again. And keep well, and please keep us posted, and just continue the job because it is outstanding what you have done. Thank you very much from the heart of an investor, shareholder of as an investor of your company, and also as a friend. Hope to see you soon. Thanks and bye-bye.
Yeah, Johan, thank you. And I want to thank you and all the viewers. I'm really grateful for the questions. Thank you for all your support. We've got some challenging times. Stay healthy. And have a great 2022 to every one of you, each and every one of you. God bless.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Paul Huet, the CEO of Karora Resources. There's nothing to add. I think this was the real heartful presentation, the real bloodful Karora presentation. Unbelievable. This is a lot of patience and passion inside this. And that's what we really love. Paul and the team are living and they are doing what they say. And they have skin in the game, of course. And I can only really advise you, own that share, you will make a ton of money. I'm in long time, and I stay because I know Paul will make this a big success. Thanks for watching us. All the best to you. Stay healthy. See you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye from Switzerland.